Welcome to Comic Station, issue number 84 for August 6, 2014. We're just going to jump right into the comics. So the first one we had is from Image Comics is Imperial.
It's
there. And the overall idea sounds kind of interesting at first. First glance, it's an every guy kind of person, which we'll get into that more later. And he's kind of picked out to be the successor to the world's Superman. The Imperial. Basically, he's Superman, but with a crown and a dumb grin.
Yeah, he looks way doofier, like he's the Burger King.
He's the Burger King that can fly. Yeah. And the idea behind it sounds interesting. This guy is picked up. You're going to be my successor. Lots of big words. The guy... This is where it comes into the issue.
This is where it all falls apart.
The guy is an idiot.
He's incredibly stupid and imbecilic, to the level that Homer Simpson would outwit him.
He's thrown off a lot of big words. There's too much of a play on how he doesn't understand big words.
It's like his own sole character-defining quality is being confused by diction. And at the same time, the other thing is that he's written with the vagaries of an accent. I'm not sure if he's supposed to be Irish or if he's just supposed to sound stupid and not say words properly, like ta instead of to. It's honestly hard to tell, and I would have preferred a caption box to let us know.
And the overall idea is between choosing to become the successor to this Burger King with
Super Burger King.
You're choosing between to become the successor to that or marrying his fiance. And overall, the idea sounds maybe interesting on paper.
Yeah.
However,
the central core concept here is a cool idea. It has a lot of areas to go with it. There's the drama of the choosing. There's the idea that maybe Imperial isn't all there. Maybe he's crazy.
I like this theory, actually.
Because he chose this guy who seems completely like a doofus. Or maybe the main character is insane.
Nobody else really seems to know him.
Yeah, no one sees Imperial.
He is a comic book character in the world.
And we know the guy is a big nerd and he's had a recent tragedy in his life. So it seems possible that he's just sort of reverting, as it were, to this world of make-believe, where he's chosen as a true successor and everything's suddenly going right.
That sounds interesting. However, the biggest problem, at least to me, my biggest gripe about it, was there wasn't any development. The character is a blank slate. He never gets past being a blank slate, besides maybe inferring a little idiocracy on him.
Yeah.
And nothing really happens as far as he is concerned. That's my biggest gripe with it.
Yeah, for me, like, I found the main character gets really grating. His shtick doesn't go anywhere, I agree. He doesn't develop. He just sits there at this one note he hits in every scene, and it wears on you really quickly.
Yep.
Next up, though, for the complete opposite, genius! It's not really genius.
No. And the cover is very provocative for... And maybe they're doing it for a reason, but you do have a strong female character. Unfortunately...
As it were.
Yeah. Good way to show it.
Yeah.
And with that cover. And however, it's an anti-hero. She's basically, the idea is all the gangs have united under one ruler, and the police force, the main detective is, this has to be a guy, it has to be a strong man. Some people are inferring must be a vet, so forth. It's all this, but really it comes down to, while he's expositioning, something must have triggered her and stuff like that. You're getting a little bit of a backstory. You see there was a tragedy involving the police, and hence why she would end up taking over the gangs.
Yeah, that's what this comic is about. This one ghetto chick,
the head gang member,
ends up really smart and takes over all the gangs of Los Angeles and is trying to use them to overthrow the police department and, I don't know, secede from the union and hopefully not get nuked.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, see how that works out.
It just really comes off. So far, there's no sympathy with her. There's no making the police to be bad guys. You don't know what happened that involved the police when she was younger, if it was their fault or not. So there's... Basically, she is the bad guy. The police are never made out to be negative in any way.
I honestly found myself straining to feel anything towards any character, which is not a good sign.
Yeah, there's no reason to be invested in her as a character and root for her.
And the idea of her as a strong female character is completely backwards here. The problem is that the idea of strong here is basically emotionless and competent, but that's not a
cunning.
Yeah, that's not a well-written character, though. Like, a well-written character, i.e. a strong character, is someone you can imagine having a response in a situation outside of the source material. You can't do this with this character because she's completely two-dimensional. She's defined strictly by her desire for revenge. That's it.
Yeah. And... Overall, I think it just glorifies I don't know if it's glorifying. Maybe you'll find out later something goes on with it, but it's a little too making the gang being the center focus as if they were the good guys and such, but without ever justifying their position.
It's a little yay for gangs murdering innocent cops.
There's no justification. That's my biggest problem.
From that, we jump to Night World, still from Image. This is a weird comic that seems to be sort of trying to slip by on its very Kirby-esque elements, as you can probably tell from the cover and whatever scans we're going to show during this narration portion. It's an interesting idea, and a lot of the designs are good, except for Nightman there, who goes unnamed in the comic. The only problem is that compared to, say, much better modern Diet Kirby, like, say, Keith Geffen and Dan Didio's OMAC series, that had a straight linear storyline and had one central idea that could flesh out through the whole comic. This one tries to throw everything at once, no one is developed, there's no central running storyline, everything is jumbled, so it's too many ideas thrown out at once. It wants to be really clever and quirky, but by vomiting all that cleverness up at once, you get this sort of too much noise, too much just static is what you get from it.
It's kind of like the art style just kind of reminds me it needs to calm down and get a focus.
It does. It really does.
Finally, finally changing up is from Dynamite Comics. This one is Terminal Hero. Of the three that I read, this one is probably my favorite. But
this is probably one of the best #1s from the week.
This week, anyways.
Yeah.
But it starts out with somebody having a terminal
brain
tumor, and they get experimental drug to basically try to fix it. What it causes hallucinations. It causes
weird, poorly explained powers.
Yeah, it basically,
and it causes you to need to go to a lot of hookers as well, for some reason.
Yes, I think that was kind of gratuitous at that point.
Yeah.
But the overall idea is this guy is having a mental breakdown because this drug is giving him powers, but it's also causing him hallucinations, so he's causing things to happen. Maybe he doesn't really mean them to happen. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's going insane.
It reminded me a bit, actually, of House of M in some elements, in that it's about essentially a super being going kind of crazy, but who has really reality-warping powers and seeing that's effect. And that's an interesting idea, and it's pretty well executed here, but I think that it's definitely helped by the lackluster competition this week.
Yeah.
And finally, we have, again from Dynamite, Captain Victory and the Galactic Rangers. This is back to Kirby again. This is a sequel to an old Kirby character created outside of Marvel and DC called Captain Victory. This is a really clever take on it, but it's let down by some jumbled artwork and too much technobabble. The idea is that within the Captain Victory continuity, whenever Captain Victory dies, like in Mass Effect, his consciousness and memories are downloaded to a new cloned body. The idea here is that, since he's done this so many times, those previous consciousnesses didn't die, they were just transferred to different universes, different from this one. And now we're seeing what's happening with those and what they're going to do about having been killed and brushed off. It's a really cool central idea, but I really wish the artwork and dialogue could have sustained it more.
Now the idea of that sounds really interesting, and it brings in a lot of ideas, especially the multiverse kind of.
Yeah.
What's going on with that?
Speaking of, hopefully sometime later this month we'll get to see Multiversity from Grant Morrison, and there will be a review of that.
Yes. Speaking of reviews, on frontdoorsgamer.com we do have a number of reviews. Some of the ones we want to point out because we love Grim Fairy Tales, we love Zenoscope.
We love giving up for Zenoscope, guys.
The guys are great over there. We do want to mention that there are reviews up for Goddess Inc. and Masumi. Masumi is getting her own title. She stood out.
Unleashed.
Right? She was introduced there, and now she's getting her own title because people liked her.
As part of this big #1 push from Zenoscope along with Realm War.
Yep. And, of course, Cowl.
Cowl #3. That's gone up. Like I said, I'm really liking the Cowl series. I highly recommend it. Check out that review for more details on why it holds up so well.
Yep.
And of course, we're changing things up now a bit with things like television reviews, like my review of The Strain episode 4.
Continuing The Strain.
I'm going to continue reviewing all the episodes because the reviews get views, so, you know. And finally, we also have a review of...
How can we not do a review of...
Guardians of the Galaxy. The biggest thing in comic book movies right now.
Yep, biggest news right now, comic book. Honestly, from the trailers and everything, didn't really show to be much. Yeah. But ever since it's started slowly rolling out, word of mouth getting around. A lot of people are enjoying it. It was the biggest box office this weekend.
It's the 3rd highest box office opening of the year, actually, so far.
And a lot of fun. I actually went to go see it this weekend.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. A lot of great Easter eggs in there.
Yeah, a lot of great shout-outs for fans, and even if you're not a comic book fan, it's very accessible. Even if you've never seen any of the other movies in the Marvel staple.
You don't need to have seen any of the other movies. This is a standalone by itself, and it differentiates itself a lot, especially on the focus on the characters. It spends a lot of time in character development, even so much to the point where the villain himself, while he does have his moments, it's not centered around the fighting.
Yeah, a lot of the time what makes this stand out is the fact that the characters and the actors really get to express a full range of emotions, instead of just being stuck on transmitting snark like Iron Man or scowling like Thor sometimes.
And I really enjoy the fact that every character has their moment to shine, whether it be as
comedic moment.
The comedic, pretty much everybody at some point or another is the comedy.
It's a very funny movie that way.
Yes. And then at other times they get their serious moments. Rocket Raccoon has a particularly, he's kind of funny, he's always saying funny things.
Yeah.
There's this great scene at the end, absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
But he also has his moment when he actually bears his soul, and it reminds you, yes, he does have a serious moment, and this is why he acts out.
And a lot of those moments end up really sticking with you after the movie's over, and it's very well written in a way that's actually quotable, which I like about it.
And Groot. I love Groot.
We are all Groot.
Yes. So, definitely recommend going to see it. If you haven't seen any other movies, don't worry. You don't need to worry about that.
If you want to,
if you don't know anything about
on it, you can check out my review.
Yep. And if you don't know anything about Guardians of the Galaxy, you don't need to know them. They do a great job of introducing the characters.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a really fun movie that's great for everybody.
Yep. All right. And so that is our issue number 84 for August 6, 2014. And we'll see you next week.
We'll be back next week.
Bye.